those people do not have regrets about what they have done. It's because that they are lack of that empathy, the capacity to feel or capacity to empathize somebody. And so when they do harm, some people do that intentionally, and some people have no intentions, but they just do it because they are lacking. That's most of us who have this capacity to feel love or kindness or like to be loved. So those individuals that do harm to the world really don't have that kind of attitude, and so they don't have the capacity to feel it like you and I do. So when we focus on those type of people, and we truly have to have that kindness and compassion, and we have to not to feel sorry for themselves, but to realize that they are also doing this because they are lacking some of the things that they should have. And so it's a one way to look at it. And so I always pay attention to that. Also, I look at it as sometimes that how we have brought up in life, and there is always this nurture versus nature, and how we nurture a person and how the nature creates one. And so there is a nature component to it, their brain. Some people have a wrong with their brain, and some people have a nurture, how they have been brought up in life. And so this is a huge factor when it's come to hatred, anger in life, because when somebody is lacking this understanding how really that we should be living together in harmony, how we can help each other, and so that whole things come with a sort of it's a learned knowledge. It's a learned a pattern. For those who doesn't have that, has not taught that, they have been taught that it's all about me, mine, only has to be my people. It only has to be me. It only has to be mine. And they have been taught that. And so their brains has changed, and their understanding, their knowledge about the world is misguided. And so I always look at those people when I practice loving kindness, and when I think about them, I always think that they really are lacking this knowledge normally that you and I would have. So they have a really difficult time connecting with the other person's pain and the suffering, or the difficult times that these individuals are going through. And so for me, when I sit down to practice, or every time when I pay attention to loving kindness, part of my practice when I take time to practice it, that I don't find that I have a complex to think about those people who do harm, because I can relate to what they are going through, because either they have a problem that brought up through the nature, or they have a situation that how they have conditioned their thinking process through whoever that has put these things in their heads. And so majority of people who do harm in the world actually is how they have been brought up, how they have been nurtured through the society or through the family or the spiritual leaders. And so that's why there is this, when these mass shootings and things like that happens, like this just happened in Texas, El Paso. And so these people, their thinking process has changed through a very wrong narrative. And so you can really be angry at that person. Actually, we have to empathize towards that person. And sometimes the bigger issue or the problem is not the individual who grabbed a gun and kill so many people, hurt so many people and families. It's actually going to the root of the problem and resolving. And so in order to do that, we have to kind of change the way that we do things in the world, and how we can go back and really how we can change that the narrative that we have today, what's happening. And so that's what we need to do. And so, however, in order to do that, we don't have to get angry, or we don't have to get really mad at any individual or a group of people. And we can be a part of the solution rather than the problem, or rather than complaining about it, we can be part of the solution. And so what kind of actions we can take in order to change that situation that keep happening. And so that's why I called last episode, so this is living Dhamma. It's a practical approach to life. It's a way of living. And so every actions, every thought that thinks, every reactions that come out of us has to come out with that loving kind and attitude, also to having that intentions to create a peaceful, harmonious society. And so in order to change these things that happens in our society today, especially in this country today, that what can we do? And we can get involved with groups. We can learn, we can educate ourselves, and we can educate others, and we can carry on a conversation. And we really don't have to fight through social media and things like that to convey a point, but we can engage in a conversation. And I remember one time Buddha said that Sakachaya bhikkhave panya veditabbo. And he says that the best way for us to attain wisdom is through discussion. And so to have a discussion over these things. But when we do that, it's important to remember, I always remind this for practitioners, that it's always important to remember that we do what we do with love, kind, and compassionate attitudes. So that's going to change. And so there is a way that we can look at the people who done harm, and also then we know what we can do in order to change the situation. And that will ultimately going to create that harmonious environment, a loving, kind environment that we all want to live in. So that's all I have time for today. And so I hope that this is going to help everybody, these hard, difficult times that we are dealing with. And so, as I said, I would also like to hear your feedback. Thank you very much, and I will see you with another episode next time.